All right. Hello. Hello and welcome. We're going to have a beautiful explorative discussion about the play of painting. It doesn't really have an English term, but I think that describes it well enough. So we've got Frauke here, and you're going to obviously I'll ask some cool questions because even I want to really dig into as best as words can describe what comes through with this style, this space that is available for people in Germany, in Düsseldorf. Um, I'm going to try and say it, and then you can say it properly. So, der Malort Düsseldorf. That's as close as I've got. You feel free to share
Yeah.
what the space is called, and
Yeah. So it's der Malort, and Düsseldorf is the city, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
space where you can paint. Obviously, you can see it in my background,
yeah.
and it comes from the original name was closed space, like clos lieu in French, and it's because it's only the painting people come in and other people don't see what's produced here.
And that's really conducive, like to some deeper purpose of this space for the people that enter it and express in it.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk a little bit? Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what it is, particularly that purpose, and then we'll start talking about, because it's very interesting, the key things that are put in that space to allow this to come through that doesn't really come through in our society on a day, like in the way that we've been conditioned and brought up. So what is the real purpose for the space, for the people?
It's coming back to the state of play while painting, which means that you don't learn techniques, you don't learn art modalities or something, but you apply your natural capacity to play on playing, and the space which has a specific conditions helps you to do that at the most easiest way, in the most easiest way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very easy, but in the same time not simple, because we have been conditioned, we have ideas what painting is about, we believe we can't paint, or we believe we're the best painter in the world. Like, so all these things we can let go here and just um, try to get back into the state of flow, let's say it's that way as well.
Yeah, so even with play, I think that starts getting conditioned as well at some point. At some point, it's free flow for children,
Yeah.
and then things happen like bad experiences, school, being forced into a certain environment. Yeah. So, what is if you can describe in words, because I'm sure it's more an experience, what is this play that particularly comes through?
So it's not the way we adults think, oh, let's give this task a bit more playfully. It's like real play, original play, how children play, how they naturally born to play from the beginning. And as we go into school and then we learn to separate, like, oh, this is play, we do that in the afternoon, and in the day we learn. And the original way of playing is that it's one, like learning and playing is one. And I mean, when we watch children playing, then we know that they can do everything by playing. Like, if they follow the play, they are able to surmount uh, obstacles. They're like, you follow your enthusiasm and you're ready to climb mountains by that. So it's actually about how does it look, or how does it flow if you don't interfere, if you don't give people tasks, if you let them really get into this playful state, and the difficulty is how do you get in that mode.
Get back into that mode.
Yeah, exactly.
That mode that was natural.
Yeah, and that's where the setting comes in on one hand, and on also my role. I'm not a teacher, I'm not an artist here in this place. I'm not a master, and I'm a servant. So I serve the play of others, and I kind of take away all the distraction, and I interfere only where it's not the natural mode. And so the space is protected. That means that only the people who play are in here. There's no one who observes or watches. And also the paintings, you're like painting at the wall, and in the middle of the space there is this, you see a bit of that palette, I think, with 18 colors. That's where everyone dips the brush and then goes to the wall. So there's a coming and going to this table, to your own paper at the wall, to your own space. And so that's the protected space. Then the second very important part is that here there are like people of all ages in one space together, like the 2-year-old and the 60-year-old painting together. So you can't compare, because you don't compare yourself to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, but you take in their openness, their spontaneity, and you can remember yourself, you can remember that and then apply it for your own painting. And on the other hand, for like children of that age, like for children, it's also like kind of a respect or appreciation that adults do the same thing, but not only for them, like, oh, let's do something because the child, but adults do that for themselves. So they're all on the same level, kind of. There's as different as we are, like, and the difference is an important part in this place. While usually we have these like, everyone is of the same age, but then comparisons is immediately into play.
Yeah, so it sounds like the space is trying to allow as much purity of this playful expression, right, to come through without things tainting it, like comparison or what was the other thing you said? Oh yeah, like having conditions like you've got to paint in this technique, which takes you out of that flow that comes. It's just trying to make that, I don't know, pure is the closest word I'm coming to at the moment, to allow it to flourish or flow through people. It was very interesting. Yeah, when you were talking about that, it came up to mind. My mother used to we used to come home, my friends would come home with me, and she'd have all the paint stuff set up for me. It wasn't quite on the wall, right? Yeah, I think my dad would be very angry if we're painting on the walls, but she had all the painting stuff set up for us, and we would come and all our needs, all the things were set up for us, and if we needed anything, she'd go get it. And it really just gave us, we didn't really compare. I guess we did a little bit. We were about 10 and 11, so there was still a bit of innocence still going on then. And we were just painting with each other, but just how nice it was to have someone there holding that space and having everything, we didn't have to clean the brush, anything like that, which you do kind of have to do in an art class. They kind of go, you have to get this and you need to learn how to take care of the brushes. Is there something also in that, you're talking about being a servant of play, which is the terminology they use, and there's probably a specific reason for using that?
Yeah, exactly. Because as I already said, we don't teach anything, and it's a bit like in a restaurant, like you do the service for everyone so that you don't have to think about it, so that you can relax. Like relaxation is also important. And then also I think we, especially towards children, we would think, okay, they should learn about how to clean the brush, and they should be part of that. And they have to learn about how to be independent by that. But actually, the opposite is the case, because by taking these material needs from them, they can definitely concentrate on what comes from within, and they can relax to that. And I think one main point, which is so fulfilling also for me doing that, is that everyone's need get met around painting, and that you can make the experience that in a group of, we have like up to 15 people who can be here, you make the experience that in a group of people everyone's needs get met, and to feel that fulfillment. Like of course sometimes you have to wait until I'm there, but it's not, oh no, do it on your own. It's just, this constant awareness what people need, and makes them even more aware of what they need. Like in the beginning, if someone comes, usually they're not aware of their needs, and it takes a while. So that's also why you have to do it for a certain time. You can't just come for a couple of hours, because it's it's about this unlearning of habits and so on.
What's the minimum time for it?
You have to do it for 1 year.
1 year, yeah, okay, yeah. And they really get, as you're talking, it feels like, is it when you're painting or using the brush, I should say, you get something internally guiding you on what's next, instead of kind of a mental, I should do this and that, or
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
hard to tap into that if you haven't experienced it for a long time.
Yeah. Maybe a bridge could be like, imagine you buying your clothes and you choose your colors. But I mean, I've learned that even then people can be in their heads and think, okay, but I need this because of that occasion or something. So but maybe that's still an example where you can have an idea. Like if you choose your colors that you like, and that you also feel like they suit you, that's kind of the feeling where you can start, like this color and this color. And then over time, you get so sure about, you don't think about it anymore, and you don't doubt it. Oh no, but yeah, yellow and blue fit together for some abstract reason. No, it's just, I love it so much, and now I love this color, and maybe I choose this and combine these, and then I mix them, and so on. And that this, after a while, gets so natural, and you get such a clear or reference, or like a idea, or like
impulse, gut instinct. It kind of feels maybe they're not the right gut feeling.
Yeah,
something
exactly.
Moving through you. Yeah.
So you can get a very, very clear feeling of that. And then also you take it away and apply it in other situations as well. Like if you need to decide, I mean, we know that basically our most important decisions are not taken, you don't take them in the head. Like we shouldn't also, I believe. But often the mind gets in the way. Yeah, but this is not reasonable, and no. And here you can really like see and learn and understand that if you follow this feeling, your enthusiasm, your joy, you're getting somewhere. It's not only fulfilling, it's also you learn like competence, you learn so many things, although it's only play and only a bit of color on the paper. But
it feels like it's only that, but I think that that's where there's been an imbalance, I guess, with society. Like, school and higher education is overly, to the point where it's lost real meaning. It's overly, I don't know, admired, you know, or everyone's trying to reach, I don't know, everyone's trying to reach this university, whatever degree, have a house with the kid and a dog and the two kids, a dog and a partner and two cars or something. There's this weird thing, or maybe a yacht. I don't know. There's these kind of ideas, and you've lost touch with, well, maybe that, you know, maybe that type of relationship or that was never actually true, or even in that phase of life. And I think that's the interesting with play. You're talking about, oh, I like these colors. And then if you were spending a year doing this, there'll be a point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to try another. Like it will be a natural, organic change.
Curiosity, like,
Curiosity. And that's the same with your life. You like, everyone's aiming for this idea, maybe Hollywood, maybe it's a movie thing that's pushed us that way. But then actually that in another phase of life, it won't be true. And that transition, I think with, you said earlier about kids having, you might not have said it, but it felt like you're saying that, you know, when you're in that, the kids are more resilient, right? And you find that they're more, because they're in this natural flow, they can transition a lot easier, they can adapt to things. And there's something with adults where the older we get, you know, I had my daughter very young. I think I was 18, 19 when she was born. And people were like, oh, that must have been hard. I'm like, no, it was just barely a teenager. It actually wasn't that hard. And I've talked to people who had theirs in their mid-30s, 40s, because using IVF. And they're like, it was the hardest thing because they'd set everyone's concreted in a certain way. And I think that education has pushed on intellect, and then we've lost the other side, which is that natural instinct, organic knowing. That's what it feels like. Creative expression, play. That imbalance is a beautiful combination, but it's gone one way too much.
Yeah. Although I realize that adults sometimes, like adults who come here, sometimes it's easier for them because they like consciously choose to go into they're aware of the conditioning. And like in the children, they go to school every day. They have this long day. They come after school. They're very tired and they're like stuffed with things in their head. And like children who have been in my studio before they come to school and then they come to school, I can see like how difficult it's for them to stay in that openness and that ease and flow. They ask suddenly, oh, I don't know what should I do? What should I paint? And that's like, very sad to see. So
it's because it's a different, and we spend so much time at school, and then if we go into a corporate or work environment, that's a big chunk of our life as well. And that the environments, I guess that's what we're talking about here with your studio as well. Your space it's an environment for a different thing to come through. You're talking earlier, and I had these, like, I'm having these flashbacks of like my dad. So my mum was very kind of fluid with what I could do. She would teach me stuff, but Dad was very particular, like, you know, you got to draw this, and then you got to draw the shadow, has to be like this. And I remember him showing me and being really annoyed on the inside because I just wanted to do it my way. And he's like, no, you got to do it this way. And it still influenced me. But there is some things, right, that even though you're a servant of play, there's certain things that you will step in, such as, you know, if they have to do so, if they're pulling on old techniques or something, anything that gets in the way. What kind of things would you be guiding people away from in that space?
Just kind of reflecting on your image, like a picture or something, and that would show like in a way that people go back and watch their own thing. So I try to like tell them to just do the next thing, get your color, or so like these things. or like also the way of using a brush, like the the brush, and like people who have some experience in art, they might take the brush and hold it like that and like kind of measuring, or and then you know you already back in that kind of distance. But it's very simple because you just take it like a pen, and it's actually meant to be the prolongation. How do you
extension?
Yeah, the extension of your arm, of your body, and just let that come through what's coming from inside. And then there's also like, yeah, in the way of using the brush, you can see that there are concepts about like trying to uh, like splatter something. That's all about, I mean, that might have a sense in some kind of art context, but here it's not about these kind of effects or of producing an effect, even an effect, because it's not about creating a picture that communicates to someone even without words, or it's not a specific, you know, it's just for your own expression. And you have the others around, so you have inspiration, they do the same thing, so you feel also, that makes you feel comfortable after the first weeks where you are strange, but then you get more and more comfortable with the group also.
Plus nobody's commenting on each other's paintings and things.
Exactly, it's a small word that has these that agrees upon these play rules, like rules of play, which are natural rules. It's not nothing like, oh, you have to do it like that. It's this unlearning. It's like Arno Stern, he doesn't like invent a concept. He just watched children playing, and then he applied it to the room, to the space. And that's there's so many resistances also. I mean, it's specifically, for example, like you have two balls for each color. Like one is where you put there's water in, and then the other is the painting, and then you just dip a bit of water and then a bit of color, and then you paint. And like kind of how people unconsciously turn around and use the color in a very inefficient way. I mean, it's like that, so I have to deal with it. But it's not very efficient, and it's not very helping the spontaneity. So it's my duty or my task to help them find a more efficient or more easy way to go with it. And because like spontaneity means every movement, everything you do is aligned, or is there's nothing inefficient, like it's efficient and according to what's needed. And it's like the freedom that you experience here is not the freedom, oh, you do whatever you like. It's the freedom of the inner necessities. What, you know, when you watch children paint, when they paint spontaneously, then it comes out without any doubt, any thinking. It just comes out. So that's the state where people can get back to.
Yeah, it's like flow state, right?
Yeah,
flow state.
And that concerns also like using the way of using material, also stepping towards this little table, you know, some in the beginning. And I remember myself when I started, also I painted in a space from a colleague, and then I stretched my arm and didn't go like right in front of the color to be really there. Like, so it's much about presence and being aware of what you're doing. And yeah, we know that it's not so easy.
No, it's not so easy. Yeah, they just put a little bit of science. I mean, it's not, I mean, it might change because it's all pretty new science of brain waves. And they say as a baby up until about 18 months, you're pretty much in the delta brainwaves, and then you move into theta, which is where people go into hypnosis, but also flow state. And then around elementary school, they go into alpha, which is relaxation. And then after about just before teenage years and through teenage and adult, you're in beta most of the time. That you can go into higher states like kind of like, what is it, hyper focused zone gamma, but it's quite stressful. And the higher you go up, the more anxious you can become in the beta, the higher betas. But yeah, so kids are naturally in that, and we move out. But this type of space, and also regularly, I mean, when you think about a year, and that's weekly, and it's about, is it 90 minutes, 2 hours, 1 hour?
It's 90 minutes, but if it's smaller children, then maybe you do an hour or less in the beginning.
Yeah. So like that's only really 50 hours of practice, really, when you think about, like, a year might seem like a long time, but it's only 50 hours to 75 of practice of willingly going back, if that's what happens, because I don't know, like it's still a new science with all the brainwave stuff. And I think maybe they've oversimplified. Your brain does all sorts of stuff, but bringing that down into that presence. They talk about theta, presence, creativity is in that more relaxed states. And also, I would say flow state. They say around that point between theta and alpha. I can't remember the frequency. They talk about flow, which really feels like when the paintbrush, your arm, everything's an extension of something moving. I find this not reflecting on the painting too much very interesting, because I think we can get really mental and go into, well, look what I've done here. So do the people reflect in the week of anything, or do they just let it happen, just let the process happen?
Well, there is no space or there is no communication about what's on the picture. So, and then they go out after the hour, and then it's ending. So there's no
opportunity to discuss.
Because it shouldn't be, because it's like dancing or making music, like just experience it in the moment. And that's what it is about. It's about the joy of the moment. And how I experienced it myself, because I had the chance to paint like 3 years in a colleague's studio. The difference also compared to what I did before as an artist, where I was already quite playful in my view, or compared to others maybe, but the dimension of play that I experienced here was just totally different. And maybe one huge difference for me was like in my artwork, I was always like looking at it afterwards. Oh, is it good enough? What can I improve? And asking colleagues for constructive criticism, and because you need that. And actually, since I've made this experience of not being judged, of not being criticized, of just following my inner necessity, I really experienced the beauty of what I did. Not in the sense of, I'm looking, because I don't have time to stand there and watch it, but coming in the next hour and continuing where you've started, because then it's already hanging again. If you continue something, like it feels good to be in that vibe, because it's something that comes from within, from inside me, and it's nothing I do. So having that experience is just so beautiful. I guess it's about not identifying. Before I was as an artist, okay, I'm an artist, I have to do something original, I have to produce something new.
Gotta be better. Everyone's gotta love, like every technique has to be perfect. It's gotta be.
Yeah, there's this pressure of, or even if you say, well, I don't care, but there's this kind of communication, and it has some kind of influence what others say. And like realizing, okay, this is my unfiltered kind of what comes from inside. And this is awesome. I would never
Mhm.
have said to myself, oh, my work is so awesome. And this is something very different. And as a servant, when I receive people of all ages, it's just such a beautiful thing to watch everyone being as much as they can, like
Mm.
connected to themselves and putting that out and having that in the space. And that's what inspires everyone and keeps the thing going. So yeah, it's just a very fulfilling.
Yeah. Do you it just feels like, when we come into a place where we're not worried about being judged or
Yeah.
rejected or
Mm-hmm.
criticized, and more of us was live like if more people had
Mm.
that kind of, I don't know what you call it, it's almost like a, well, you call it unlearning, right? I was going to say like a mentorship or something, but it's more like an unlearning,
Yeah.
over a long duration,
Mm-hmm.
more than a year, like a long ongoing duration, and more people, where it would be like a tipping point in society. How do you have a vision or consideration of how it probably might be a vague question, but how it might
Mm.
change how we relate to each other or
Yeah.
work together?
Yeah. I mean, basically, this setting is kind of a model for a
Mm,
society. And when I stood in that studio from Arno Stern for the first time, I felt like, okay, this space of there is no wrong and right
mm,
is not something in the vague, like in the future. It's already existing. And of course, not everyone is
mm,
experiencing it right now, but now I have a very concrete idea or feeling for how it could be to relate in a different way, because the palette in the middle is where people meet and where we also talk. As long as we don't talk about the paintings, there's also
yeah.
like communication.
Oh,
And
okay.
then
Yeah,
you, yeah, and then you go to your painting and you're like in your own space where nobody gets in. This experience, yes, is giving you a very concrete idea or feeling how like such a more harmonious ways of being together could be. Arno Stern, he was convinced. He's died last year after
mhm,
100 years, I think. Um, he's convinced that someday we will have another society or way of living where like similar to what we experience. So I don't know where he took that knowing, but yeah, uh, yeah, it's I don't know what's my own guess on that, but I think um, yeah, there's a more like a sense that there is something that where we
mm.
can go towards, and maybe we won't
Yeah,
experience in our lifetimes, but it's like maybe a step forward and a little contribution to that.
I'm sure people would want to be in a space where they are allowed their, clear, autonomous space to create,
Hmm.
but in harmony, and everyone's got that, but together without being alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone, and not have be able to express through without getting, especially unasked feedback,
Yeah.
unconsented advice and feedback,
Yeah.
um, just allowing that through, and then full acceptance and having your needs met. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would like that, even if they wouldn't know that they'd like that. So
Yeah. So yeah.
yeah, so tell us, for people who, obviously they have to book, like, sign up for a year. So you would think they would be living locally to some extent, or local enough that
Yeah.
they could travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, how could people find out, get
Hmm.
in contact?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website. It's Malort minus, you say minus, Düsseldorf
Dash
dash
hyphen.
Düsseldorf with UE dot DE. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. And if you give in der Malort or my name, Frauke Ratzke, then you should find me. And then the first thing you book is a free on-site visit where you learn to know the space, where we get in touch and then speak about the conditions, either if you are like an adult or if you're a parent for your child, then it's without child first, so that we can just talk about everything. And when the child comes in, everything is clear around. So yeah, that's basically how you get
Yeah, book in for that face-to-face visit. Yeah, and ask your questions and yeah, and then decide from there. Is there anything, so for wrapping up, is there anything that you wanted to share, anything extra or something to sum up this interesting exploration, this different way of using art as a medium to access something that isn't easily accessible? There's not that many avenues for it.
Maybe one last thing, that if you want to tap into this kind of attitude of non-judgment and so on, it's helpful to study what Arno Stern has discovered, like what I call the natural laws of painting. And like he has discovered how this natural unfolding, like the laws of this natural unfolding, and it's available in parts in books and also a bit on YouTube. And get like into this exploration, because if you understand the basics more, then it's more easy to go into this attitude. And also doing little things at home, for example, when you help your children or want to let your children have more freedom, not commenting on what they do, and maybe create a little container where you put it, so there's appreciation by like putting it somewhere, but not so much like about the what they do.
Yeah, what they've achieved. Yeah, it's like taking what Arno has observed and noticed what was the best way to bring this through, and cultivating that for the children at home in small ways. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely very interesting to watch his interviews. And if, you can, a lot of them you can change the captions into your language, because it's all in French. So, and I only know very, very basic French and German, very basic German. So very interesting. Yeah, and so get in contact with Frauke if you or your child would like to have this experience.
Yeah, so you find my email also on the website, and you contact me via there, and then we would call and make an appointment to for the first visit.
Be very exciting. Thank you. Very interesting. I love this conversation. So I love this way of tapping into something that even we can't find the right words for, but it's very interesting. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions and for having this sense for play, which is
playful conversation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.